What? This gym bag?
In your hand!
The story kicks off with a woman pulling off a daring heist inside an Albanian mafia headquarters. But just as she tries to make her getaway, her cover is blown and gunfire erupts. Right outside, two undercover cops are watching the place. The moment chaos breaks out, they jump into the action. We don't see how the chase ends. Instead, the scene shifts to Hugh, an IT specialist working at a brokerage firm. On paper, his life looks fine, steady job, decent pay, but he's socially isolated. His awkward communication skills keep everyone at a distance. Cut to Marlon, a struggling actor still chasing his big break after more than a decade. The closest he ever got to fame was a barely noticeable cameo in a pizza ad. His habit of over-improvising at auditions doesn't help. Later, Hugh wanders into a comedy class to work on his social skills. He doesn't plan to participate, but his interest sparks when the instructor, Kat, encourages him to perform. That same class is where Hugh meets Marlon for the first time. Meanwhile, Kat, despite being talented and passionate about comedy, is stuck in place. Her students keep landing gigs, but she remains overlooked. The next day, Hugh gets the cold shoulder at work. Marlon is dumped by his agent for lacking talent. And Kat finds out yet another one of her students just landed a TV role. That night, as Kat wraps up another lesson, she's approached by a detective named Billings. He has a proposition. The police need skilled improvisers like her to work undercover. Their usual operatives are too easy to spot, so the department's looking for fresh faces. The deal, £200 per job. But there's a catch. Kat has to form a team of 3. With no better options in sight, she turns to the only 2 people still lingering at the bar, Marlon and Hugh. Marlon agrees on the spot, desperate for cash. Hugh's hesitant, but Kat pitches it as the kind of wild story he can brag about to his co-workers. And just like that, the trio is formed, diving headfirst into what would soon be known as deep cover. Their first assignment is low risk. They're sent across the street to buy a pack of fake cigarettes, part of a sting on counterfeit goods. But before they go in, Billings hands Kat a special phone and tells her to call him before making contact, so he can listen in. The mission should have been simple. But as usual, Marlon overcommits to his role, while Hugh's nerves get the best of him. They go in first to scope the place, with Kat following soon after. Everything seems fine, until the seller notices something off. He starts to suspect the 3 of them know each other. Their cover nearly blown, they scramble to improvise. Things spiral when Marlon and Hugh start riffing, saying they're looking for something more exciting. The seller takes the bait and unexpectedly offers them drugs.
Follow me, yeah?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Now stuck in a lie, the trio plays along and gets introduced to the dealer, a man named Fly. But Fly doesn't deal with just anyone. He wants to know who they are. Thinking fast, Kat and Marlon spin a convincing story, claiming they sell to celebrities. Meanwhile, the woman from the opening scene is revealed to be Fly's trusted lieutenant, Shosh. She and Fly recently stole a stash from the Albanian mafia and are now selling it to Kat for £36,000. But before closing the deal, Fly offers Hugh a sample to prove the quality. And just like that, Hugh, the straight-laced office guy with no criminal record, is about to take a hit of illegal drugs. Things quickly spiral when Marlon, half joking, asks if all the bags on the table really contain drugs. Fly takes it seriously and forces Hugh to test each one.
Okay. Very good. Very nice.
Out of nowhere, the building is stormed by the Albanian mafia. Gunfire nearly breaks out. Fly had stolen from them, and now they want blood. But Kat thinks fast. She claims the drugs aren't Fly's or stolen, but hers. She spins a story about selling to the highest bidder since supply in the city is low. The Albanian leader hesitates, but buys the lie, thanks to Kat and Marlon's flawless improvisation. Kat even manages to resell the drugs at double the price. Impressively, her bold move saves Fly's life and earns his trust. Fly offers them a chance to work together long-term. Back at headquarters, Detective Billings is furious at first. They strayed far from the mission. But after cooling down, he realizes they've pulled off what the department couldn't do in 2 years, earn Fly's trust in a matter of hours. He asks them to stay undercover. Kat hesitates, but Billings promises that if they bring down this syndicate, their names will be front-page news. Billings explains that Fly is one of London's top drug dealers. Their objective now is to find out when and where his next smuggling operation will happen. For their safety, only Billings knows their real identities. He warns Kat again to call before entering any hostile territory so their conversations can be recorded as evidence. Later, they return to Fly's base, expecting a lead on the next deal. Instead, Fly sends them to collect a debt. While Kat and Marlin are occupied, Hugh wanders off and ends up talking to Shosh. The trio checks in with Billings, unsure what to do. They're not exactly tough guys, but Billings tells them to go ahead anyway. The debtor is probably just some harmless guy. They arrive at the house of an old man named Sagar. Marlin goes full method, intimidating the man so well it inspires Hugh to join in. The tension rises. Marlin threatens to burn Sagar's fingers if he doesn't pay up. But then, Sagar reaches for something in his bag. Before he can strike, Marlin snatches the weapon first.
In your house! Oh!
Sagar bolts for the door, only to be struck by a car. He dies on the spot. Shaken, the group collects the cash, and Marlin snaps a photo of Sagar's body for proof. They call Billings, nervous about the fallout. But he reassures them. It looks like an accident. Minutes later, the Real police arrive and recognize the victim. Sagar wasn't just some old man. He was a legendary hitman responsible for countless deaths in both the criminal world and law enforcement. Now the cops are digging deeper. The scene shows signs of struggle, and witnesses confirm 3 people were involved. As it turns out, Fly never actually expected them to kill Sagar. The whole debt collection was just a test. But now that they pulled it off, he's impressed and generous. He lets them keep half the cash as a bonus. And since it's his birthday, he invites them to join the party. Before heading into the bar, Kat warns the others not to drink too much or say anything that might blow their cover. Ironically, she ends up being the one who breaks her own rules. On the way home, things nearly fall apart when Kat runs into a group of old friends. But once again, she saves the moment with a quick lie, claiming they're just her wealthy clients, exactly the type she claimed to serve. Fly buys the story, intrigued by how someone like Kat manages to move product in high-end circles. Still curious, Fly starts pressing for more. Kat keeps it vague, saying she once killed 15 people and doesn't like talking about her past. But Marlin, as usual, goes off script. He starts bragging about running away at 5 and traveling the world, completely making it up on the spot. Despite all the chaos, they start to earn Fly's trust. He even opens up about his daughter, who's hiding out in Portugal. But the mood shifts when they're suddenly called in to meet the top boss. Turns out, Fly isn't at the top. He answers to a man named Metcalfe, one of the most dangerous criminals in England. Kat discreetly checks in with Billings, who confirms Metcalfe's rap sheet includes drug smuggling, arms deals, and human trafficking. Soon, Metcalfe arrives. He already knows Fly stole from the Albanians. He also knows Kat and her team helped flip the product. Worse, the Albanians figure it out too. Their cover is hanging by a thread. Metcalfe warns Fly not to trust outsiders so easily. Just because Kat's team killed Sagar doesn't mean they're loyal. To drive the point home, Metcalfe's men drag out a corpse. Shaken, Kat calls Billings that if their cover is blown, they're as good as dead. But Billings won't pull them out. He insists they stay in. Meanwhile, Detective Dawes, who's investigating Sagar's death, uncovers surveillance photos of the Albanian Mafia entering Fly's base. The 2 groups are supposed to be enemies. But in the final image, Kat, Marlin, and Hugh are clearly visible, and they match the description of Sagar's killers. The next day, Fly gives them a new task to buy drugs from a gangster named Kailash. She's feared, ruthless, and once even injured Fly in a deal gone wrong. But now that Kat's crew has proven themselves, Fly believes they're the only ones who can pull it off. The trio heads out for the deal with Kailash. But when they arrive, she's out of stock. Marlin thinks it's just a bluff and starts his usual tough guy improv, trying to push her into selling. But Kailash isn't impressed. She's not like the others. His routine falls flat. Backed into a corner, Marlin pulls a grenade, only for it to be a fake.
What are you saying now?
Here's what I'm saying now. It's a fucking grenade, guys!
With no drugs, no deal, and a room full of armed thugs, they make a run for it. But the building's layout is a maze. Every door leads them in circles until they end up right back where they started. Just when it looks hopeless, Detective Billings shows up. His sudden arrival sends the gangsters fleeing. Then Kat starts asking questions. How did Billings know where to find them? And why did he come alone? That's when the truth hits. Billings has been using them all along. He's a corrupt cop, blackmailing them with Sagar's death and forcing them deeper into the criminal world. But before he can tighten the leash, Shosh appears and shoots him dead on the spot.
I'm getting what I need. And until then, if I say jump, you say how.
They drag Billings' body to Metcalf's headquarters. Shosh informs him she always suspected someone was leaking info to the police. Then they find Billings' burner phone, the one he used to contact his informant. Metcalf tries calling the number, but it's disconnected. Kat, thinking quick, had already removed the battery. But the real nightmare begins when they're ordered to get rid of the body, by chopping it into pieces. Killing Sagar was accidental, but hiding a mutilated detective? That's a whole new level of risk. Still, refusing could mean instant death. So Marlon steps up and gets it done. Once the body's bagged, they plan to bury it. Shosh is already waiting at the drop-off site. But with no car, Hugh suggests renting bicycles. Just as they're about to leave, they run into Detective Dawes and his partner. The chase is on. They split up, each taking a different path, and somehow it works. The police are thrown off, especially when Dawes gets stuck behind a slow-driving old woman. Kat and Marlon manage to slip away. Hugh, on the other hand, ends up with faulty brakes, flying straight into a river. Ironically, that saves him. The police lose his trail completely. With the coast finally clear, they regroup. But there's still a problem. Police are scanning for bicycles now. They need new wheels fast. That night, Kat remembers a party invite from a friend. A wealthy one that it's the perfect chance to snag a car. At the mansion, Kat's friends are all there, and they've even hired a psychiatrist, thinking Kat's been spiraling from hanging around criminals. It's awkward, but Kat plays along, using the moment to distract them. Meanwhile, Marlon slips away and swipes the car keys. While Kat and Marlon made their next move, Hugh was stuck with guarding the bag that held Detective Billings' dismembered body. Things nearly unraveled when a neighbor's dog started sniffing around. One rip in that bag, and everything would be exposed. Thankfully, Kat and Marlon showed up just in time. With no time to waste, Hugh had to ride lying next to the body. Once they reached the burial site, the gruesome task began. To erase any trace, Shosh torched the stolen car, the one Kat had actually planned to return.
For that. That works. I'll drive you home.
But just as one problem ended, another began. Metcalf was now investigating Billings' phone to find the police mole. That night, Kat and Marlon headed to the phone shop where it was being analyzed. The clerk refused to let them in, but Kat faked her way past him yet again. Meanwhile, Hugh couldn't join them because he was out on an unexpected date with Shosh. Somehow, the most awkward guy in the group had won over a deadly mafia woman. Back at the shop, Marlon ran into trouble when his old pizza commercial aired on TV. The moment it played, the mafia started putting things together. Upstairs, Kat found the phone. But before she could escape, Metcalf's men surrounded the place. Their entire undercover operation had been exposed. Metcalf blamed Fly for letting them in and declared him useless for still failing to secure a drug supplier. A meeting with the Albanian Mafia was scheduled for the next night. But there was no waiting for Kat, Marlon, and Hugh. Metcalf sentenced all three to death. Even Shosh felt betrayed. She had fallen for Hugh, only to learn he was a cop. With the execution set, Kat broke down. There was nothing left to say. Then, just as the trigger was about to be pulled, Fly fired a warning shot into the air. He'd had enough. Tired of being Metcalf's pawn, tired of the bloodshed, Fly turned on his boss. He let the trio go. Their escape had to stay secret. Kat, Marlon, and Hugh made their way to the train station, trying to decide which country to flee to. But before they could board, Detective Dawes and his team closed in and brought them in. At first, Dawes thought he'd nailed some high-level criminals. But after hours of interrogation, he realized their crimes were minor. Nothing compared to what they helped expose. Since Dawes had already bragged to his boss about the arrest, he made a new offer. Instead of prison, he asked them to go undercover again and help take down Metcalf for good. But the only problem was that their cover had already been blown. But Fly had assumed from the beginning that they were police. Kat and the team used that to their advantage. They returned to Fly, this time openly as cops, and offered him a deal, turn on Metcalf during an upcoming deal and clear his name. Turns out, a major transaction was happening that night. If Fly helped, he'd be off the blacklist. He agreed. The police set up hidden cameras in advance. All Fly had to do was get Metcalf to say something incriminating on tape. But unexpectedly, Metcalf betrayed Fly, planning to hand him over to the Albanian Mafia in exchange for peace. And the police refused to step in. They were ready to record Fly's murder as evidence. But before the shot could be fired, Kat, Marlon, and Hugh crashed the scene one last time, armed with toy weapons. They bluffed hard, warning everyone that Fly was now a key witness in a federal case. They even claimed there were snipers locked in. If the Mafia didn't back off, they'd all go down. Outnumbered, but outwitted, the criminals caved and let Fly go. Back at the scene, the police were still waiting. They couldn't move in until Metcalf named the transaction amount. Kat noticed the delay and, in a last-ditch effort, provoked the Mafia into saying it out loud. It worked, but it also blew their cover. Just as things turned ugly, Marlon stepped in with a backup plan. He lit a bomb, or so everyone thought. Turns out, it was just fireworks. With the amount finally confirmed, the police stormed in, surrounding the place. Just when they thought it was over, Metcalf returned, armed and out for revenge. His targets were Fly, Kat, Marlon, and Hugh. Before he could fire, Shaw stepped in. Loyal to Fly to the very end, she pulled the trigger first and took Metcalf down. In the chaos, she grabbed a bundle of cash from Metcalf's suitcase. Until that moment, Fly still believed Kat was a real cop. But the click of Marlon's toy gun made the truth finally hit him. Fly was stunned, but grateful. They saved his life. As a parting gift, he handed them several stacks of cash. For his own safety, Fly was quietly flown to Portugal to reunite with his daughter. As for Detective Dawes, he couldn't thank the trio enough. Their wild mission earned him and his partner promotions. The ordeal changed them all that Marlon's acting finally hit the mark as he landed the role he always dreamed of. Hugh lost the awkwardness, found his confidence, and now runs a successful wine shop. Meanwhile, Kat is still teaching comedy. But thanks to the body she once dragged through the underworld, her classes are now packed. The end. So the moral of the story is when life sucks, just say yes to crime improv. It might fix everything.